The Hall of Famer nickname that was once tossed around sarcastically became a rallying cry. HOF. They'd say when Sanders made a no-look pass in red zone drills. HOF. They'd mumble when he threw a 45-yard laser off-platform into a tight window. The nickname stuck, not because of prediction, but because he made it feel real. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. When DraftKings released those jaw-dropping projections for Shedeur Sanders' NFL career, the football world didn't know what to do with it. Some fans laughed it off. Others embraced it like prophecy. But inside the Cleveland Browns facility, the mood was different. The projections didn't spark laughter. They sparked intensity. It wasn't about whether the numbers would come true. It was about whether Shedeur could shoulder the weight of that kind of belief and still deliver. Shedeur didn't flinch. If anything, the projections hardened his focus. Because when you're the son of Deion Sanders, outrageous expectations are constant. He'd been living under a microscope since he was old enough to throw a football. He understood the spotlight. He didn't run from it. He walked into it. The difference now was that the NFL spotlight was less forgiving. It didn't care about bloodlines. It cared about results. But Shedeur didn't come to Cleveland to be a novelty. He came to be a legend. His first few practices after projections went viral with the stuff of quarterback folklore. He arrived earlier, stayed later. Receivers started asking to work with him after hours. Linemen noticed how he took time to thank each of them after every rep. It wasn't performative. It was leadership in real time, the kind that didn't need to be taught, just revealed. In the locker room, the jokes started to fade. That was the thing about Shedeur. He made the impossible seem methodical. Head coach Kevin Stefanski tried to temper expectations publicly. He's a young guy. He's got a lot to learn, he told the media. But inside the team meeting room, Stefanski knew what he had. This wasn't just a rookie with potential. This was a quarterback who made the veterans sit up straighter, who made the fan base feel something they hadn't felt in decades: belief. And that belief was contagious. Even the most hardened Browns fans, the ones who'd endured the jersey of shame with 30 failed quarterback names, began to whisper that maybe, just maybe, this kid was different. Not because DraftKings said so, not because of his dad, but because when Shedeur stepped on the field, it felt like gravity shifted. His mechanics were pristine. His footwork looked like it belonged to a 10-year vet. His command of the huddle was sharp, no hesitation, no second-guessing. In preseason walk-throughs, he corrected receivers on routes, called out blitzes before they came, and adapted protection on the fly. It didn't feel like someone learning the league. It felt like someone who'd already played in it. That's what impressed the coaching staff the most. He processed information like a computer. Every rep, every throw, every mistake. It got logged, corrected, and never repeated. His learning curve wasn't linear. It was vertical. The comparisons to past Browns quarterbacks became irrelevant. Shedeur wasn't the next Baker Mayfield. He wasn't a reboot of Deshaun Watson. He was his own prototype. And Cleveland was finally ready to stop looking backward. As for the locker room hierarchy, it shifted quickly. Kenny Pickett, the most experienced in the room, became visibly frustrated by the change in energy. He'd been brought in as a stabilizer, a bridge. But suddenly it felt like he was being outshined. Dillon Gabriel, the other rookie, quietly accepted that he was now third in the pecking order. And Joe Flacco, the grizzled vet brought in for stability, knew exactly what he was watching. Kids got it. Flacco said during film review one day, he's not just flashy, he sees it. That one sentence traveled fast through the organization. If a Super Bowl MVP quarterback is vouching for a rookie, people take notice. The internal buzz soon became external noise. Media outlets that once doubted him started flipping their tone. Analysts who criticized his draft slide began asking whether every team before Cleveland made a mistake. The same experts who said he wasn't a day one starter now debated whether he should be Cleveland's week one starter. Still, Shedeur didn't flinch. He stuck to plan, improved every day, earned everything. He wasn't chasing projections. He was chasing execution. But as much as he tried to keep it about football, the DraftKings numbers loomed in the background. They became a measuring stick, a specter: 62,804 yards, 454 touchdowns, 68.7% completion, 1 MVP, 1 Super Bowl, 7 Pro Bowls, a Hall of Fame jacket, and every throw he made in practice. Fans were watching with those numbers in their minds. The Browns' PR team leaned into it. They began to craft a narrative around "the future starts now." Posters of Shedeur went up outside the stadium. A local artist painted a mural of him on the side of a restaurant 2 blocks from First Energy Stadium. Kids started showing up to training camp in Sanders jerseys, not Deion's, but Shedeur's. And still, he hadn't played a single NFL down. That kind of pressure could break most rookies. But Shedeur, it sharpened him. He started holding player-only meetings, began texting teammates after practice with film clips and breakdowns. He even initiated weekly dinners with his offensive line, paying out of pocket and refusing to let anyone split the bill. "You protect me, I take care of you," he said. That wasn't rehearsed. It was instinct. As preseason rolled around, all eyes were on Shedeur. Would the hype translate to actual production? Would the flashes in practice show up against live defenses? Game 1 of the preseason, he got the second half reps. And in those 2 quarters, he looked like he'd been in the league for 3 years. He went 12 for 15, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 third-and-long conversions that left the stadium roaring. His command was visible. His patience stood out. And when the defense threw disguised pressure, he stayed calm, shifted protection, and hit the hot read without flinching. It was clinical. It was cool. It was exactly what Cleveland had been waiting for. After the game, a reporter asked him what he thought about the DraftKings projection. He smiled, wiped sweat from his forehead, and said, "Man, I haven't done anything yet, but if you're going to write a story, write a good one." That quote went viral, and with it, Shedeur's mythology grew. Suddenly, the projections didn't feel outrageous. They felt possible. But here's the truth. Shedeur doesn't need to hit those numbers to be a success. He doesn't need the MVPs or even the Super Bowl ring to justify his presence in Cleveland. What he needs, what this franchise needs, is someone who gives them identity, who gives them hope, who gives them consistency. And if he gives them that, the stats will come. The accolade will follow. The Hall of Fame? Maybe that's in the cards. Maybe not. But legacy? He's already building that. Every pass, every read, every handshake with a kid in the stands. He's not just chasing greatness, he's creating it. By the time Shedeur Sanders even gets under center for a regular season snap, the atmosphere in Cleveland will already have shifted. That's what happens when a player arrives not just with a stat sheet, but with gravity, an undeniable pull that reshapes the energy of a franchise. Whether it's the practice reps, the sideline leadership, or the post-practice film sessions that stretch well into the night, Shedeur isn't waiting for someone to hand him the keys. He's building his own ignition. The most telling thing about Sanders is that his rise doesn't come at someone else's expense. It comes from within. He isn't begging for the spotlight. He's just doing the work. And yet, that very work is creating tremors through the depth chart. What started as a humble 5th-round pick is now becoming a challenge to the very structure of Cleveland's quarterback room. Dillon Gabriel, for all his accolades at Oregon, plays like a college quarterback trying to translate his skill set to the pro game. Quick reads, short passes, a bit of mobility, but the ceiling feels limited. Kenny Pickett, meanwhile, brings experience but not necessarily excitement. He's steady, maybe even solid, but in the NFL, steady without upside becomes expendable. It's a league built on stars, and that's where Shedeur begins to stand apart. He doesn't just have upside, he has vision. He doesn't just want to play, he wants to lead, and that's becoming clearer by the day. Ask anyone around the Browns facility and they'll tell you the same thing. Shedeur's approach is different. He studies like a starter. He corrects himself before coaches even say a word. He's become a fixture in the locker room, not as a loud voice, but as a presence. He remembers teammates' names. He daps up staff members. He asks questions other rookies are too nervous to ask. It's the little things, the ones that separate professional from players just collecting a check. But the most important signal? His command of the offense. On the field, Shedeur doesn't flinch. The moment isn't too big. The schemes aren't too complex. He adjusts protections like a vet. He identifies defensive rotations before the snap. And when the pocket collapses, he doesn't panic. He resets his feet and delivers strikes. That's not normal for a rookie. That's foundational, which is why people are starting to whisper, not just in Cleveland, but across the league. Did everyone miss? Was Deion Sanders right? How did this kid fall to the 5th round? Because what we're seeing is a perfect storm. Talent, preparation, character, and hunger, all wrapped in a player who's been doubted